Hey y'all, it's King's Day, so I'm just gonna go out. Just gave myself fucking hepatitis. Bro, I'm bleeding. I got stuck by this thing. Yes, it's literally a tack. Tiana, why do you have a tack? Tiana, why do you have a tack in your drawer? Oh, I don't know. So that I can stab myself and give myself hepatitis. Dude, it's so bad. Dude, that tack is so old that I can't. It went under my nail, so I can't even really wash it. Okay, it had like one concerning gush. I went and I washed my finger, and then it had one really concerning gush that I was like, oh! Thoughts and prayers, please. I don't know what I want to talk about anymore. That's what I originally wanted to do. Welcome back to my channel. It's really nice to see you. I am breathing heavily because I just went to Decathlon and got some equipment for camping. Because this week, going camping in France. And so it's going to be so amazing. There's a nice big group of us going. So I needed a sleeping bag. And I needed a chair. So I got this chair. It was a little more expensive than the other ones. So, like, they had the regular chairs, but they didn't have, like, covers. Like, I don't know. And at least in Canada, they always come with a cover, or maybe it's just a Decathlon thing, but this one, like, is so small. When you fold it up, I can fit it in my backpack. So I was like, let's get something that I'll use more than once. Like, it'll be nice to have this over the summer, like, going to the beach or something, like having a chair to set up. I think that'll be so good. So, and it might even be something that I, like, ship back to Canada once I'm done here. But yeah, so I'm like, okay, let's get some bang for a buck. And it's already so nice. I set it up in my room to check that it was all good. And now I'm like, I'm gonna leave this set up in my room though. Like, I'm chilling on this thing. So anyway, that's a little update. Today I wanted to talk about how life is boring and conversations are boring. I've been thinking about how I'm bored of the conversations I've been having and how it's my fault and how I can have more fun with the conversations I have. I feel like as I get older and I meet new people as adults, like, a lot of our initial conversations have been very fact-based, and it's like, oh, what did you study? Oh, what's your job? Oh, what's up? I feel like as I get older, it's harder to just have an imaginative conversation. Like, there was so much playing pretend when we were younger, but now it just seems like I'm talking to people about what they do for a living and all these, important things. Like, it's good to have those real conversations about, like, so what are your values, and, like, how did you grow up, and, like, those are so important for connection as well, obviously. But I feel most connected to people that I can have a fun, free-form conversation with. Yeah, when we were kids, we didn't know as much about our identity, so we couldn't even have those kinds of conversations. And now it seems like we all have so much identity as adults that we can hardly have imaginative conversations. So I want to try bringing it back to that with some balance now that we're adults. I think a lot of our more on the nose questions, like, A lot of the questions we would ask when we're kind of interviewing a new person that we meet, I think a lot of those questions can be answered through imaginative conversations. And I think I still do this a lot, but sometimes we just get tense meeting new people, and I feel tense today, honestly. So today I just wanted to talk to you about how I'm incorporating imagination into my everyday conversations. One way to kind of prime yourself for future imaginative conversations is to make sure that you're allowing yourself to have fun being interested in a variety of things and researching a variety of things for fun. And you don't need to know the facts 100%, but just bringing some knowledge about a topic you're interested in, whether it's got something to do with something historical, like maybe reading books by philosophers that you really like, or maybe learning about ancient Greece or ancient worlds, or maybe learning more about photography and the history of photography, or if you're interested in drawing, then learning about the history of drawing and knowing names and times and eras that you can bring up in your conversations. Just having a variety of knowledge about a bunch of stuff. You can then kind of use it with humor in your everyday conversations. And it's also just good for your brain, I feel like. Lately, I haven't been very good at having those interests. I feel like I have a lot of brain fog, especially today for some reason. It's nice to find what you're naturally drawn to and just keep building on your knowledge in whatever areas that involves. Also, just reading more and immersing yourself in fictional worlds especially, I think is really good for keeping your brain in an imaginative, free-flowing state. And I think if you really want to dive into more of the researching stuff and having deeper interests, finding out what kind of note-keeping app or a tool works best for you, whether you like using a notebook or using Oblivion or using Notion, and keeping track of your thoughts and the things you learn is good for retaining that information. Another thing I've been doing is I've been asking myself what's stopping me from taking creative conversational risks. I'm trying to be less concerned with being seen as weird and more appreciative of the opportunity to be memorable. And just trying to have more fun with it. And even with just making a video and my roommate's home, and I'm what if he hears me and he thinks I'm weird? It's just well, I'm doing what I like to do, so I think that's nice. And if he notices, then who really cares? I think I just get a bit drained sometimes by those confrontational conversations of oh, what are you doing and why? It's I don't know, dude, I'm just having fun. Yeah. So maybe I'll just answer more like that, answer more imaginatively. When someone asks you something that's not necessarily an imaginative question, that doesn't mean that you can't answer creatively, And I think answering creatively can sometimes still be quite a direct answer. So I think as a woman as well, I've always felt the need to make myself smaller and to be quiet and not take up too much space. And if I take up too much space somewhere, then I kind of feel guilty or a nuisance. Whereas it just feels like men are so used to taking up space and being loud, and I think I've always just been oh, I'm a girl, so I need to be quieter, and oh, the boys are louder. But that's just not something that I actually subscribe to. That's just a subconscious experience I've been having, but now that I'm more conscious of it, I'm really trying to unlearn that thought process. Another thing I've been trying to do to have more imaginative conversations is trying to be more attentive, like noticing the body language of a friend and maybe commenting on it in a way that's like funny, but not in like a mean way, but like in a way that like attempts to loosen them up a little, or commenting on a new haircut or on something. I think there's such a fine line too with like being funny about someone's new haircut or something. There's such a fine line between being just kind of mean and a bummer, even though what you said was a joke, and like telling a joke that like weirdly empowers them as well. And I mean, it's really interesting how fine the line is too, because it's also just so fun to, once you're closer with someone, obviously it's fun kind of having different characters that you play around each other, and you can kind of tell when it's like you're being silly, you're in your silly zones, or you're in your being real zones. And I think getting to those silly zones with people where you can kind of brutally use your humor and be a bit more risky with them, I think it takes time to really get to a place with someone like that. And I think as I make new friends as an adult, that's been the hardest place to get back to, this nurturing, humorous place where you're just so mean to each other, but it's all love, and like you come out of it in an instant and like show your genuine like appreciation for each other again. Not even being mean to each other, like just being goofy, and like being mean to each other has actually nothing to do with it. It's just like having these characters around each other. I think it takes time to get to a point in a friendship with someone where you develop kind of this humorous character that you can be around them, as well as like the real character that you can just be around them, and they're both genuine characters that you can be around each other. There's just like such a strong undertone of love and acceptance that whatever the joke is like such, it floats on top of the connection that you have. You can just be experimental and have fun and feel appreciated and loved, because I think that sometimes instead of the humor floating on top of this deep connection, it's like a thread in the connection, but it can lack a trust and it can lack a love in the humor in a friendship, and you can actually start to feel genuinely bullied by your friends. But I think if the humor can somehow float on top of that connection, then you're free to do anything you want, and it's just the most freeing space. I think it's a really nuanced thing, finding the perfect amount of like humor and imagination in your communication with friends. And it takes time and it takes experimentation to get there with someone. And I think as adults too, we lose a bit of patience with getting to know people sometimes. And I think we need to remember as we get older that like the connection is going to get stronger over time if you can feel it getting there. Learning how to not give up too quickly on a connection, but also knowing when it's just not going to work out with someone and moving on. But yeah, I think that all has to do with being attentive and like reading the room, and at the same time taking risks with your imagination and humor. Another thing I've been doing is thinking more metaphorically and comparatively, trying to see things less literally, and being more intentionally imaginative can challenge the way that you think inherently and get your mind to be more creative throughout the day. A few imaginative conversationalists that I look up to are Conan O'Brien.
Happening around me, and anything that happens is okay. Whatever happens is cool, because that's just the way it is, dude. That's just the way it is. Son of a bitch! I don't know what happened there. I totally lost my cool.
Aubrey Plaza.
Your Twitter handle is Evil Hag. Why Evil Hag?
Because I like it. I don't know, because why? Sorry.
Why do I feel like you're my daughter?
And Drew and Enya.
If people aren't constantly thinking about me, what the fuck are they doing? Because I am literally the only actually alive person on this planet, and no one else can prove to me that that's
Well,
not
if you
true.
want people to
See,
care
the way
for
Kai
you,
just looked at me when I said that was very suspicious. It was like I caught him looking at me, and like he's supposed to be like acting like he is, you know what I'm saying?
like he's supposed to be acting like he's not just like
you two are putting on the performance of your lifetime, being around me every single day of every single day, and then at night, like you go and report back to like the Truman Show like producers, and you're like, how did I do? Like, should I add some flavor to it? Like,
you suffer from delusions of grandeur quite often.
yeah.
I think Conan can read the room so well and take the right amount of risks, and it's just always so satisfying. And then Aubrey just like has this character that she sticks to, and I think her keeping authentic to that and grounded in that all the time allows her to find humor in everything without feeling any social pressure. And then Drew and Enya are just like the perfect example of that friendship where you have the connection, like that is a solid foundation, and the humor like somehow floats on top, and you're just like free to express yourself in that friendship. I'm trying to be more imaginative in the conversations that I have with strangers and new people, and just trusting that maybe they'll go along with it, but also just being grounded in myself enough to go with the flow and accept whatever reaction they have. Just trying to have fun and trust myself and trust them, which kind of leads into the next thing that I've been doing, which is letting go of my identity, especially in social situations, but also by myself. I don't think letting go of your identity means letting go of your self-esteem. I think finding a groundedness and a rootedness in yourself is so important, and being imaginative and pursuing creative things. But then if you focus too much on your identity, it can probably draw you back from doing certain things because you feel like people expect a certain thing from you. But yeah, just setting myself free from all the boxes that I've been put in, and setting others free from all the boxes that I've maybe put them in, and just allowing everything to be free-flowing and fun. You can just have a lot more fun when you're not held back by the notion that, oh, this is so out of character for me, or something. Like, just being open to the fact that anything is possible and you're allowed to do whatever you want. Especially when I was younger and I was more shy. I feel like when people get to know you as the shy, quieter person, it's so much harder to like break out of that and like be a louder person, because you just get nervous, especially as a kid, that like, oh, they know me as the quiet kid. If I do more now, they're gonna be like confused and like comment on it, and I don't want that. But there's just so much freedom in allowing yourself to be anyone and accepting that people do want to see you grow and change. And if you get a weird comment every now and then, just ignore it, brush it off, and accept the compliment if there's one in there. The next point is, who cares about the outcome? I think a lot of the time we hold ourselves back from being more imaginative and expressive because we're worried about the outcome and we're worried about the reaction of other people, especially if we're talking to someone who's more of a no-but person rather than a yes-and kind of person. We can kind of take a step back and feel a bit uncomfortable, but if we just accept that we are a yes-and person and we have that power, then it doesn't really matter who we're interacting with. If we can show up, then we can continue to be yes-and, and it can maybe even be fun to interact with these no-but people, because you can just seem even more absurd and have so much more fun in contrast to someone who's trying to be a bummer. But obviously it's more fun overall to have fun with other fun people. The next thing is, are you allowing yourself to be open to what could be? How do you experience rejection and failure? And when faced with failure, appreciate that the future is unknown. It won't be what you expected, so make it something fun. Recently, I got rejected from 3 master's programs that I applied for. I didn't even really know if I wanted to do them, but just getting rejected at first stung a little bit, just by the notion of being rejected. But as I get older, the less rejections feel like rejections and more like, okay, cool, so I'm not going to do that, and now, so what's my next move then? Because there's always something else that you can do, and I trust myself enough to know that, like, the next thing I do is also going to be exciting. Whatever's next is going to be exciting because I'm there, and because I'm open to what could be, and I'm not latching on to what should have been, or, you know. There's this one Bob Dylan clip where some interviewer asks him a what-if question, and he's just like, I try not to dwell on the what-ifs.
If you were draftable at present, do you have any feelings of what your actions might be?
No. I probably just do what had to be done.
What would that be?
Well, I don't know. I never really speak in terms of what if, you know, so I don't really know.
You're considered by many people to be symbolic of the protest movement in the country for the young people. Are you going to participate in the Vietnam Day Committee demonstration in front of the Fairmont Hotel tonight?
No, I'll be busy tonight.
Ever since I watched that as a teenager, I've just been like reminding myself when I get caught up on like, oh, what if this happened, or what if this happened? The fact is that it didn't end. What's next is what's so exciting. We can get really bummed about failures, but like, that isn't reality. What is going on right now is reality, and what you can make happen next is reality. And so, and what happened is reality. Dwelling on might have beens and what ifs is just a real energy sucker, and usually not a very positively imaginative place to be. And we imagine, oh, I could have gone to school, oh, I could have got my master's or something, but now it's like, oh, now I'm free to like do whatever I want for the next 2 years, and maybe now is not even the right time for me to do a master's. Maybe I want to do one later in life, or maybe I don't even need that. I'm just really excited now that I get to do what I want with like whatever steps come next in my career, and with travel and with friendships and relationships. Like, everything is a blank canvas now, and as intimidating as that can be, I'm just like overwhelmed with joy with the fact that anything could happen next. And the final thing on my list of how to be more imaginative in conversations and connections is balance the imaginary with the real. I was kind of thinking about how some of my friendships feel more theatrical and imaginary in conversation than other ones that maybe are usually more heartfelt and genuine and literal. And while we can have different connections in our lives for different purposes, like different connections with different people who fill different purposes, like, oh, I can go to this friend to have some kind of weird imaginary conversation, or I can go to this friend if I want to be real and just talk about what's really going on with me, literally. But then I think while we can compartmentalize, sometimes we can narrow the vastness, and we can narrow down our perception of the possibilities within those connections. Like, maybe I can be real and heart-to-heart with this, like, more theatrical-based, imaginary conversation connection that I have with this person. Maybe there's, like, a broader range of how we connect that we haven't uncovered yet. We haven't experienced the whole gamut of our connection yet. And, like, being open to how our connections can evolve over time, and going back to not forcing a bias onto someone, not forcing someone in a box, and not forcing ourselves in a box. Like, oh, I'm kind of this person around this person, and I'm free to be more like this when I'm with this person. While we might feel that every now and then, just coming back to the fact that those boxes that we put ourselves and other people in are themselves imaginary, and we can just let them go and do whatever we want. Anything's possible. And all the rules that we've set up for ourselves are imaginary, so why not imagine something else if we want to, and experiment and have fun. I hope that was nice. I'm feeling a little bit low energy today and not really like I'm not my best speaker self today. But I hope that was fun. It was nice to talk to you. Go have an imaginary conversation. So go talk to yourself. Go talk to a camera. I am so tired. I'm gonna have a snack and take a nap or something. Or finish my laundry. I don't know. I'm sorry for the brain fog today. But please like and comment and subscribe. I appreciate it a lot. And I'll see you next time. Bye.